Hey there! Today we're going to talk about this kind of invisible bridge that connects the websites you use every single day to all of their information. It's the secret sauce that lets a Java application talk to its database, and we're going to see exactly how that brilliant little piece of engineering works.
You ever stop and think about how your favorite social media site, or your school's online portal, or even an online store just knows who you are? You log in and bam, there's your profile, your old orders, all your settings. How does it do that?
Well, all that info has to live somewhere, right? Websites use this super powerful, really organized memory bank called a database. You can just think of it as a giant digital filing cabinet, where all the important details that make the site work for you are stored.
Okay, so for an application to actually do anything useful, it needs to be able to read from and write to this memory. But this is where we hit a really interesting little problem that every software developer has to figure out how to solve.
You see, the thing is, there isn't just one type of database. Nope. There are a ton of them, made by different companies. You've got Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, the list goes on. And each one has its own unique API, which is basically its own set of rules for how to talk to it, its own little dialect. And that makes it really, really tricky for one application to talk to all of them.
I mean, can you imagine the chaos? It would be a total nightmare if developers had to rewrite their app every single time a company wanted to switch from one database to another. There has to be a better way, right? A way to build one app that can speak to all these different databases.
And thankfully, yes, there is a better way. The solution is this really elegant piece of technology that acts as a kind of universal translator for all this data. It's one of those foundational ideas in modern software, and it's pretty cool.
So the official name for this solution is JDBC, which just stands for Java Database Connectivity. At its core, JDBC is what we call a standard API. Just think of it as a common set of rules and tools that lets a Java program talk to almost any database out there in the exact same, consistent way every time.
Yeah, the easiest way to wrap your head around JDBC is to just stick with that universal translator idea. Instead of your app having to learn every database's unique dialect, it just speaks one language, standard JDBC. Then, a specific little piece of software, called a driver, does the hard work of translating that for whatever database it's talking to.
So at the heart of how JDBC works is this idea of a really clean separation of duties. The application over on one side doesn't talk directly to the database on the other. No way. Instead, it talks through this set of standard interfaces, which act as a reliable go-between. This separation is the absolute key to making it all work so smoothly.
Okay, so let's break down this translation team using our little analogy, because this is where it all clicks. The driver manager, think of that as a super helpful librarian. Your app goes to the librarian and asks for the right dictionary. That dictionary is the driver. It's a piece of software built just for the specific database you're using. The librarian uses that dictionary to get you a connection, which is kind of like an open phone line. Once that line is open, you can send a statement. That's your question. And what you get back is a result set. And that's your answer.
So when you put all these pieces together, interacting with the database using JDBC isn't some scary, complex process. It's really just a very logical, four-step conversation. Let's walk through it.
Okay, step 1. Your application loads the right dictionary. That's the specific driver for your database. Step 2. It asks the driver manager to use that driver to establish a phone line, which is our connection. Step 3. It uses that connection to send its question as an SQLM command. And finally, step 4. It gets the answer back in an object called a result set, which holds all the data it asked for. Simple as that.
And here you can see one of those key steps in action. Don't worry about the code, just look at the idea. This single line is the moment our application asks the librarian, the driver manager, to open up that phone line, that connection. It just gives it the address of the database, a username, and a password, and in return, it gets back an active connection, all ready to go. So we've seen how it all works, but let's take a step back and talk about the big picture here. Why is this standardized bridge so incredibly important in the real world of software?
The crucial word here is portability. This is huge. Before JDBC came along, your code was basically locked into one specific database. If your company ever needed to switch, maybe for cost reasons or performance, you'd have to rewrite giant chunks of your application. We're talking tons of time and money. But with JDBC, that dependency is just gone. You can swap out the database, and the only thing you have to change is which dictionary or driver you plug in. Your actual application code doesn't change. That is an absolute game changer. So, at the end of the day, what JDBC gives us is this incredibly stable, reliable bridge. It decouples the application from the database, which just means it lets each one evolve and change on its own. This makes our software way more flexible, so much easier to maintain, and in the long run, just a lot more durable.
So, if you're going to remember just a few things from all this, let it be these. First, JDBC is that standard API, that common language for Java to talk to databases. Second, just think of it as that universal translator that makes a really complex job feel simple. And finally, its greatest superpower is portability. It gives developers the freedom to choose the right tools for the job without getting locked in.
You know, when you strip away all the technical stuff, that's what JDBC is really about. It's a whole system designed from the ground up to make sure that the conversation between an application and its data is always clear, always consistent, and always reliable. It's a beautiful reminder that in the world of software, just like in our own, finding a common language really is the key to connecting worlds.